Welcome back here to Spreadsheet Solving. Now in our video today we're going to cover a neat application of spreadsheets. Now how many of you have been on a trip with a group of friends and chances are on that trip one person will pay for a particular expense, but at the end of the trip everyone brings together all the receipts, determines who paid for what, and in the end you redistribute what the expenses are so that each person roughly pays about the same. Now I've been on that trip before. During my college senior year we had 5 girls, and towards the end of the trip I don't recall exactly how we were able to reorganize what the expenses were, but we did not use a spreadsheet. The cool thing is we do have this tool, and I've got a template here to show you how we can use spreadsheets to organize the expenses. And not only that, but it will lead to a very efficient, easy, organized, comprehensive way for you to recalibrate what the expenses are between the group of people so that all the expenses are shared. Okay, so what we have here is a sample. We've got the description of the expense, the actual dollar amount of the expense, and this column is key because we have to specify who paid. Now we're going to make the assumption that one person paid for the group for that particular expense. So in this case, for the first expense, dinner at a steakhouse of $300, we will say that it was Anna who paid for that expense. Now, she is not going to cover that full $300. It's going to be split among the 5 girls. But for now, this is how we list it. Anna paid for the $300 at the steakhouse. Now we do the same thing for all the other expense entries. What we've got here in column D is this neat function called data validation. It's a neat way for both formatting and data analysis purposes. And what it does is you can click here on this little button and it provides to you the available options. And in this case, we have the 5 girls who went on the trip. So in this case, if we go down each expense entry, for the second one, the subway tickets, we will say that Beth paid for them. Ice cream, Kathy paid for the group. Amusement park tickets, Donna. And we'll say that Erin covered the water and snacks for the group. Now keep in mind these are joint group expenses, and the sole purpose is you're listing them here so as to determine who owes who when tallying up the total expenses at the end of the trip. So this is a sample. We can continue this onwards and the list can go on depending on how many group related expenses you have. Okay, so once this part is filled out, the area here in blue is all the user entered data. And of course, the great thing about Google Spreadsheets is that you can collaborate, share the spreadsheet within your friends, group of friends, so that everyone can sort of list and include what the expenses were. Okay, so let's assume that there were 10 group-related expenses and that you've finished completing this section. Now what I'm going to show you is a summary table up here. Now, this summary table here will show you at the end of the trip, the expenses per person for all the shared group expenses would be $244. And that simply takes the total expenses and divides it by the total number of people, which in this case is 5 people. So, assuming you share the group expenses evenly among your group, it comes to $244. Now, but the problem is not every person paid the $244. Some people would have paid more, some less, and now you have to try to figure out who owes who what. And so this is where a spreadsheet comes in super handy. So the formulas we use include the sum-if formula. We use the sum-if formula to determine what each person has already covered. So Anna has already paid $300. As you can see here, her only group expense was the steakhouse dinner, and so the $300 is reflected as the total amount she's already paid for the group. And we do the same for each person, Beth, Kathy, Donna, and Erin. And given that we know that the expenses should be $244 per person, we can then determine what the amount owed is. So Erin is the only one who's been short. In other words, she hasn't covered her full share of expenses. And so she owes $124 to the other members of the group. In other words, to her 4 other friends. So based on the spreadsheet, based on the summary table, we can see that Erin can simply write checks out to each of her friends in these appropriate amounts, $56, $41, 21 and 6, which equals 124. And after that, everyone is made whole, and everyone would have paid the expense of $244. Okay, so this, my friends, here is a simple template, which will make life a lot easier, a lot more convenient when splitting group expenses, and it requires two great functions. We've got the data validation, so check out our video to understand the concept and to understand how exactly we were able to create this data validation and why it's beneficial. And the second function that we used that came in handy was the SUMIF formula. Again, another great function to check out. Visit our video tutorial and check out what it is. All right, so there you have it. Feel free to use this spreadsheet and modify it, make it your own as you take your next trip with your group of friends. Okay, we'll see you next time.